Have you ever known logically that something is over, and yet you still found yourself reaching for it anyway? An old relationship, an old identity, an old version of life that you know isn't coming back in the same form. You know that that bulb is dead, and yet part of you still walks into the room and reaches for the switch anyway. Why? Well, that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. Sometimes we think attachment means we're confused, but often we're not confused at all. We know. We know it ended. We know it changed. We know the old reality isn't available to us anymore. And still, the hand reaches for that same familiar switch. Not because we're stupid, not because we're weak, not because some part of us enjoys suffering like it's a hobby, but because the body remembers the light and the warmth. The nervous system remembers what once worked. The heart remembers what once felt alive. The mind remembers the pattern. Switch equals light. Effort equals reward. Reaching equals relief. So when we feel lonely, unsteady, or emotionally underpowered, we don't always reach for what's true. We reach for what's familiar and what's comforting. And sometimes what's familiar and comforting is that dead bulb. And here's the deeper truth. You are not always attached to the thing itself. Sometimes you're attached to what it used to provide. Warmth, hope, identity, contact, meaning, relief, a sense that life was going somewhere specific. That's why moving on can feel mechanical and emotional at the same time. Intellectually, you know the bulb is dead, but your system is still running an old program, running on the old wiring. It says, try again, maybe this time. Maybe it will light if I want it hard enough, if I believe hard enough, I can get this bulb to work again and light my life the way it once did. But a dead bulb is not a moral failure. It's not betrayal. It's not proof that your life is now ruined because that bulb went dead. It's something that once gave light and doesn't anymore. It represented a season of your life that sadly no longer exists. And letting go of the dead bulb is not dishonoring what it once gave you. It's honoring reality enough to stop living in the dark with your hand flipping that switch over and over. Picture yourself standing in a room, dark room, you just enter and you flip the switch. And nothing happens. Click, nothing happens. Light bulb doesn't come on. At first you're shocked. You're perplexed. Well, it just worked yesterday. How come it's not working today? I like this bulb. I need this bulb. This bulb is a part of my reality. And you almost refuse to believe that it had gone out, that it's not working anymore. So what do? You flick the switch again. Click, click. Maybe it's the switch that's bad and not the bulb, right? So you keep flicking it. Maybe you flick it harder, and maybe that'll work. Maybe you sneak up on it and you go into it real fast and you flick it as fast as you've ever had. Or you flick it 16 times, real fast, up, down, up, down, up, down, trying anything to get it to work. And you're focusing on the switch, even though you're panicking about the bulb not lighting up. So eventually the mind upgrades its strategy, right? You're not just flipping the switch now, you're giving it a speech, you're giving it its own little reality. You used to work, we had something special. Maybe the problem is me now. Maybe I'm not flipping the switch correctly enough. Maybe I'm not in the right frame of mind or emotional state for the bulb to connect with me and light like it once did. And just maybe if I replay the best moments of 2013, the filament will heal itself and the light will return. This is how people lose years of their lives standing at that switch, trying to get that bulb to relight. Not because they can't see reality, but because some part of them keeps confusing repetition with restoration. And it never feels that ridiculous from the inside, right? It feels tender. It feels loyal. It feels like keeping faith. It feels like trying to keep love alive. But there's a difference between honoring what once lit your life and organizing your whole present around the hope that dead things will resume glowing on command because we want it to, because we need it to, because we're believing it to light again. The dead bulb is not there to be revived. It's there to be understood. It lit something in us once, and it was great. It served a purpose. It was there for a specific season. It may have helped you survive even, and that really matters. But when its time is over, now your work changes. Your work is no longer to force it back to life, for it to activate on your command. Your work is to integrate what that light had revealed for you in that season of your life. What did that season awaken you? What part of you came alive there? What did you learn about yourself? What do you need? What do you love? What will you no longer settle for? What will you no longer tolerate? Sometimes the bulb goes dead, but the sight it gave you remains inside of you, integrated. At least that's the goal, that's the work. That's what people miss when they're standing at the switch, flicking it over and over, focused on that dead bulb, focused on what they lost, focused on what they no longer have. The point was never to worship the bulb or what it gave you. The point was to see. The point was to feel. The point was to experience. So healing begins when you stop asking, how do I make this bulb light again? How do I get back that warmth, that light that I became accustomed to, that I wanted? And you start asking yourself, what did this light show me that I can now carry forward, integrated into myself? How did I feel when that bulb was lit? What did it give me? And that's what you're supposed to take forward, not the pain and the sorrow of that this bulb is now gone. You don't have it anymore. It's dead. But the bulb may be dead, but you are not. And some of that light is already inside you now, even though you may not realize it. The work is to figure out what that light was and to realize I still have it. It gave me this. It gave me its light. It didn't just light, and now that it's dead, that light no longer exists. It does exist within you. So the next time you catch yourself reaching for an old switch to a dead bulb, don't shame yourself. Don't dramatize it. Just notice it. Be aware that you're reaching for that old switch that no longer does what you want it to do. And just ask yourself, am I trying to revive this bulb, or am I finally ready to carry the light forward with me? And that's a very different question. And usually it's the beginning of internal freedom. So the next time an old attachment, an old memory, an old longing arises, say to yourself, this may be a dead bulb. What light did it give me that I can still keep? And that question can change the whole room. So if you learned anything from this short guidance post, I encourage you to seek out one of my other videos, which is Arbiter of the Universe, which gives you more of a deep dive into this subject. And thank you for joining me today. This is Guidance Post, and I am M. Everett K., your host, and I will see you next time. Thank you.